Hello, everyone. We've got Rory with us, and we've also got the brilliant Naomi with us too. We wanted to talk more on the whole concept of feeling disappointed because a siren, she gets everything that she wants. She's got the whole desire thing down as a skill, and that's something that we're all learning to work with. So what happens when you feel disappointment? Where do you go from there? And more specifically, we also want to bring in the whole disappointments in business as well as in love. Because in something I'm seeing here as an across the board thing is that we are growing our bandwidth. We're growing our emotional bandwidth. We're growing our mental bandwidth. We're getting bigger in both business and in love, regardless of what kind of work life you have. Maybe it's also your life as a domestic goddess, all the things that makes up your life. We want to invite it all to come into a space of healing and transformation, if that speaks to you, and whatever your siren dreams are. So I'm so thrilled to have both Naomi and Rory with us today.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
What an awesome intro. Thank you. I'm just going to jump right in here, and then I'd love to hear from Naomi. You said something brilliant, expanding your bandwidth. Again, in recent times, we've come up with incredible things like showcasing your soul as business growth. That's brilliant. The sanctuary business, where your business is sanctuary. Naomi, you came up with that. These things are, huge. And you're expanding your bandwidth is, I think, wow, that just feels very huge to me. Like, if I can expand my bandwidth to tolerate my triggers, so that instead of when my husband, my boyfriend, my dog, my child, my friend, my date triggers me with feelings of disappointment and an instantaneous need to defend myself or explain myself, or I feel anger rushing through me, if I can expand my bandwidth, I won't react in the same old ways I have always reacted, just because I have a neural pathway that goes from A to B. And it goes from A to B no matter what. It's like he triggers a pathway and bingo, it's automatic. That makes us not free women. We are slaves to a neural pathway that may not even be ours. It could have been installed like a computer program when we were children, and we're still just going A to B, A to B, A to B. So by expanding our bandwidth, let's think of it as expanding our entire brains, our entire neural pathways. And remember, everybody now thinks of your whole gut as another brain, as running your body in an equal way to your brain. And so I say the whole rest of your body runs you. Some people say your sexual energy is just that. Well, for me, I think it's a pretty all-encompassing drive to have something that you want that feels good. And that should be something that could direct us all with everything that we want and what we feel. So it's more than just A to B, over and over and over again. He says this, I go A to B, over and over again. So by expanding your bandwidth, you get to go, wait a minute, before I go A to B, how about, before I even go A, how about I go, what's going on globally with me? Well, I'm reacting. Oh, I feel triggered. Oh, how interesting. I felt triggered like that yesterday and the day before and the day before. Is it his fault? Is it his fault? Or is he just falling into my dead end zone? Because that's why we're together. That's why we became attracted to one another, to automatically heal each other by triggering each other and learning how to grow and expand out of that. This is probably one of the most important things I've ever said here. I want to keep going with this. But essentially, so expanding your bandwidth means I don't go from A to B. Instead, I look and feel into my whole body for what's new And what can be new about my response to that trigger?
Mm.
Rather than go A to B, where can I go? Do I even know the rest of my pathways? Is it an uncharted territory, like a forest, like a jungle in there? Are there places you've never been in your own brain, in your own neural pathways? Do you need a machete to cut loose? Or can you just follow a light? Can you follow a beam of thought? Can you follow your desire, which is what we talk about all the time? All right, this is huge. So expanding your bandwidth. What do I want? By the way, the want workshop is coming up. So this is absolutely perfection. This whole concept of expanding your bandwidth so that I can actually feel what it is I want instead of just reacting A to B. Naomi, please hold forth.
God, so many things as you were speaking were just coming into my head of like, we want to get to a place. I was thinking of, I got the image just then of Little Red Riding Hood, and she walks through the forest to her grandmother's house. And it's like, is she knows her destination, but is she going to keep walking the route where the wolf is? What happens if I walk that route every time I'll meet the wolf? And it's having that openness, isn't it? And that, what if I took a different route? And Rory, you've talked about this before, about in throwing open the doors to the unknown and just getting curious and seeing where that path takes us, you know. And because otherwise, and it was something you were talking about, going A to B in our brains, otherwise we become puppets of our brains. We become puppets to our reactions. We are just the puppets. It's like, this happens and then I bite at him. This happens and I shut down, and we're puppets. And there's something about in that expansion of who we are, and that expansion of opening up our peripheral vision in our hearts, in our senses, as well as our eyes, but in our minds, is how we listening to ourselves. You know, we talk about listening at level 1, where we listen to all our thoughts, listening at level 2, where we listen to him or listen to the news or listen to what's going on in the rest of the world. But listening at level 3 is that expanded listening, isn't it? It's like, how about I listen to my pain and my triggers and actually trust that I can handle them? You know, I don't have to go straight to blame to avoid feeling. What about if I'm this amazingly created human that is actually okay with feeling human feelings? Actually, I'm safe just to feel this. You know, I'm safe to feel disappointment. I'm safe to feel sadness, because actually, if we weren't safe to feel it, why on earth are we able to feel it? You know, it's like, for me, I believe nothing happens in life that we don't have the capacity to handle. So if he's getting grumpy, wow, what about I can just handle that? And I don't think it's my fault, or I don't blame him, or I don't think I've done something wrong, but I just feel the discomfort of being in the presence of an angry man or a grumpy man. And that for me is expanding. It's like expanding beyond where I normally am, expanding, just getting bigger around it. Something I love to do is when there's pain, or when someone I'm working with has pain, I like to just allow myself to just, or my client just, to expand around that pain. It's like, how about I make loads of space for that discomfort, so it can just move and flow and do its thing, rather than going and contracting around it. So I love that whole idea of just expanding our thoughts, expanding our hearts, expanding our ideas, our view. Yeah, love it.
I love that, Naomi. That was brilliant. All by itself.
Brilliant imagery here, and how it links back. I love all of the siren imagery and all of the imagery that Rory's brought to the table for us, and seeing it in all of the different siren communities, how we're like, oh yeah, I'm in the meadow, or yes, I'm on the rocks, I'm on the cliff. But right there, where we're talking about expanding our bandwidth in like the places we don't really want to go, like where being in front of an angry man. So often there's so many of us who are just so like, okay, well, how can I just shut this down? How can I shut down the emotion? How can I help him shut down his emotions so that neither of us has to experience his anger? I don't have to experience mine. I don't have to experience his. And we just get to coast along. What do I have to do in order to not feel that? And instead, opening yourself up through the curiosity and adventure of all of this, brave little baby steps into the wilderness of our brains and bodies of, the anger. I've not heard this in any of our Siren imageries just yet, but maybe it might become a new thing that, the anger becomes a dragon. And what if you can befriend that dragon? What if you can find your brave in that space differently? And the puppet master imagery in our own brains, a kind of a spooky vibe, and I'm totally here for that. I'm totally here for that. I just thank you for that, Naomi.
This is turning into an actual masterclass, isn't it? I just want to jump onto this whole train with this. And that is, I can see now where affirmations have come from, the whole law of attraction. And if you know me, you know I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan. First of all, if you believe in the law of attraction, then when you feel like you're being cranky, that you're not, then it's your fault that that you're bringing crankiness to you. And that is not how I want anybody to see themselves. So law of attraction for me is a whole different thing. I say you attract what you want. How about that? Let's try that one. We attract what we want if we can find what we want. And that's enough for right now. But what I hear is, with all affirmations, is the difference between expanding your bandwidth and going, oh, I don't want to feel cranky. I don't want him to be cranky. And I don't want that to happen. My experience maybe is helpful to you. And that is that my mother taught me to worry. She taught me to worry. She didn't just demonstrate that I should worry by being a worrier herself. She literally taught me to worry. And her philosophy of life was, the other shoe is always going to fall. If you know what it means, wait for it. Wait for not the good thing, but wait for the horrible thing to happen. It's just going to happen. And so you spend your life in anxiety, waiting for the other shoe to drop. So I was trained in that from an early age, all through my life, just being with my mother. And yet my mother was pretty easygoing. She made that part of her philosophy that worked for her in a way. So there is that, the other shoe's going to drop. Then the other thing is, if I'm worried and fearful that something bad is always going to happen, because that's how I've been trained, how do I switch out of that? How do I switch out of that? So just by saying, oh, no, I'm not going to feel that. I'm not going to feel that. I'm strong. I'm invincible. I can do that. I can do this. I don't, those are affirmations. And yes, for some of us, sometimes they work. But in general, my sense is the second I say I'm strong, I'm invincible, my subconscious hits me even harder. No, you are not. You're an idiot, and the other shoe is going to drop. And you're guilty. You did a terrible job not catching this first. You messed this up. Those are the thoughts that automatically, from my A to B, A to C, whatever was instilled in my brain computer, that is what happens to my reaction if I hit myself hard with something positive. And so my whole way to heal myself is to go, wow, I'm really feeling guilty. I don't want to feel that. And then I'm doing something out of there that's making my husband react the way he always reacts when I say or do something that's like a big mea culpa. And all of this happens over and over and over and over again if you don't expand the area. So how does it work that you can help yourself get out of that? And my mother also demonstrated for me that disappointment is a key to life. Literally, everything was disappointment, and everything was between my parents was bickering. They were wonderful, amazing people, and there was devotion there, but frustration and disappointment. And my mother was always disappointed at how her life was going and how this had happened and what she felt and all of that. And it was all basically bickering. Don't do this. I did that. And I think all of us have seen that, not you blaming, but bickering, just snarky. And so that is what I learned to say to myself. I would never say that to another human because it was my survival defense to not do that. And it was also my survival defense to judge that bickering. So if any of you out there have any of those patterns going on, I know what that's like. And what you need to do is just recognize, whoa, I'm judging that bickering voice in my head. I'm judging that other person for being snarky. In other words, instead of being filled with affirmations, be positive, that is not the root here. The root is, wow, you're into disappointment. You're into bickering. Wow, you're on the disappointment track. Wow, you don't know where to go. You're A to B. You're A to B. Okay. I have no judgment about that. In fact, I'm totally in love with you. I am totally in love with you. As if that's just a pattern. Patterning is something I'm talking about a lot these days. It's just a pattern. And you don't have to shut it down. No shut down on that bickery, weird, other shoe drop, disappointed pattern. Instead, put it in my heart. I love you. Let's see how much bigger we can go. And this is where you just start looking for the other pathways and the forest and the parking lots and the big empty spaces, all the stuff you've never looked at before inside yourself, all the feelings in all the rest of your body that are likely being cut off because we're so stuck in A to B, we don't even notice what's going on in our belly. So you just start noticing, and pretty soon your adrenaline level will go down, your parasympathetic system will start to go, oh. You will find that you will shift things simply by expanding your feeling towards that yicky, disappointing part and embracing it, and then allowing yourself to consider what expansion might be like in your brain, and then entering into entertainment. Entertaining the feelings that come up for you that feel a little bit better. Doesn't have to be huge, a little bit better than that disappointment, icky feeling that you had that made you want to bite back at somebody or explain yourself. Instead, you've just stopped for a second. And stop is a big word in all of modern Siren. And you've taken a breath. Yeah, get some air in your system and think about just expanding your bandwidth to include something new you never heard of. Give yourself a moment before you open your mouth and do A to B, same old, and see if something feels a little bit better that you can entertain and go, oh, that feels a little bit better. Oh, you know what? I actually love you, even though right now I really wanted to react and hit you and bite your head off, literally. But you know what, I really love you. Or, you know, I don't really love you right now, but I kind of love my house. I kind of love that tree. I kind of love that sink. Whoa, yeah. Oh, I love that flower sitting there. And pretty soon you start entertaining things that actually impact you. And I talk a lot about impact these days, impact you in a way that feels better than the disappointing feeling felt. And that's how you move out of it. You just start going, oh, I'm not going to go to this disappointment. I'm going to go to that thing I entertained yesterday. You know, I'm watching TV shows that just make me feel good. And I think that it's really interesting to find books, TV shows that are not important, or you learn something from, but make you feel good, make you touch on your fantasy or touch on your loving storybook nature. This is all from your whole childhood anyway. So go find that stuff and actually spend time there, you know, instead of going, oh, I should be doing something adult. No. I'm doing something that feels good, that I'm entertaining instead of the disappointment. That's me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because these are core siren, like Rory Ray siren skills. Like the one thing, like if there's this one thing that we come into practice with first, it's like how do you turn yourself on? How can you turn yourself on even like in the bread aisle with the most mundane chores in front of you, no matter who or what is in front of you? Can you get into that practice of turning yourself on? Now, I mean, we can still see the differentiation between the logistic stuff, which will come into place when you get deeper into relationship. It's all like the business of relationship, who's going to be taking care of what. Well, how do we talk about when things need to be talked about? Those are more of like the logistic stuff. But if you can turn yourself on, and I'm saying this as if, it's easy peasy lemon squeeze, it's just easy. It's easy. You can turn yourself on. And I realize there's a journey in that, but that becomes part of your siren inner core, where you can be, at that practice of soft on the outside, strong on the inside.
That was lovely.
Wow.
Oh, thanks.
And when it comes to the whole thing of disappointment, disappointment, I've been a disappointment dodger my life. I would feel the disappointment and then jump straight to optimism. It's okay. It's fine. And I caught myself doing it. And I realized, it was only recently that I realized, and that part of me, I kind of almost named her one day, and she's called Ever Hopeful. And it was a part of me that whenever I felt disappointed, she just became ever hopeful and everything's going to be okay. And then it occurred to me, why don't I just feel the fact that I'm disappointed? There was an event me and a friend were going to go to, and we were going to go to this event, and it turned out the tickets weren't there. We couldn't get into the event. So straight away, my wonderful skill is to go, well, okay, it doesn't matter. Let's do something else. But I could tell there was something I was overriding, and it was disappointment. I wasn't allowing myself to just feel 30 seconds of disappointment, a minute of disappointment before I moved on to all the optimism. And it's something about the feeling of disappointment and it being wrong. And I just say, how about we throw out the old ideas of right feelings and wrong feelings? We chuck out the right and wrong. We just let right and wrong go, and there are just feelings. And then when we're left with just feelings, it's okay, because it's just sensations in my body, disappointment. Because disappointment, and I don't know about any of you listening, but disappointment to me would be this thing I would anticipate happening in a relationship. And it was all good until I got the disappointed feelings. And then my judgment inside of me said, oh, but it's not so good now, is it? Because I'm getting this feeling, and this feeling, it means it's not very good. And then suddenly the relationship gets colored. My lens on the relationship is like, oh, it's not so good, or he's not so good anymore. But actually, when we throw out that right and wrong judgment and actually go, there's nothing wrong, I'm just feeling a feeling. It's okay to feel disappointment. That feeling exists because I just need to feel it. And a question here that's come, which really fits in with this, is how can we create crazy love in a solid relationship? And it's, Natalina, someone just posted this in the group. How can we create that? It's the safety of being able to feel what you're feeling without thinking everything has gone wrong. How about if I sit in the presence of my man and feel disappointment, and it's okay? And still love him, still want to punch him in the head, still love myself, still love the couch. It's the safety we create by being able to be just, okay, just accept them. Don't like the feeling, but I can just accept it.
Wow. And here's my 2 cents, just to kind of put the marker on this that I really heard. So let's say you're with your guy and he's there. And in that moment, you're feeling disappointment because you don't feel connected. He's not helping you feel better in the moment. He's involved in his own thing. He doesn't hear you when you speak. I'm looking over there at him. And in that moment, you feel disappointment. And what happens is, from our A to B little way of normally going, we think that's what the relationship is.
Mm.
We think, oh, I shouldn't be in this relationship. This is the wrong guy for me. I feel bad. All these things happen. You go, no, I love him and I want. And then you go back and forth and deeper, and you start digging yourself down into a pit. Just digging yourself down into a pit of how the entire relationship is colored by this moment. Well, by expanding your bandwidth and doing everything that Adelina and Naomi and I have been talking about, you get to, in that moment, go, I feel disappointment, just the way Naomi is saying, I feel disappointment. It's a feeling. It's an energetic signature in the moment. It's a sensation. It doesn't have any meaning at all until I give it meaning, which at this moment is disappointment, anger, whatever I'm labeling it. But really, it's just a label we're giving to things, because what is anger to us might be excitement to somebody else. What is terror to us might be excitement to someone else. That's how actors have always turned momentary stage fright into excitement. We just relabeled it. So all of those things, once you just know them, it's easy for you to want to do what Naomi says and just, oh, just relabel this. No, you feel it the way you label it now, the way you feel it. This feels disappointment. I'm disappointed. I'm upset with him. I'm this. I don't feel connected. So use that word all the time. I don't feel connected, because once you connect with him, sexual connection, emotional connection, everything changes. All of a sudden you feel about him differently. And you're much more able to go, oh, that was a bad moment. But when you're not feeling connected to him recently, and your body is not feeling that energetic connection with him, then you're more likely to go down into the pit of the disappointment. So all you need to do is be able to go, this is this moment, and I'm feeling this right now. In the next moment, I get to feel whatever I want to feel, whatever comes up, I don't know what that's going to be. And I get to open some space, as Naomi is saying, open some space around this feeling. And as Natalina says, an exploratory space to give me a moment to go, right now, I'm not going to connect with him. He's doing something else. I would have to force or push a connection right now or have a conversation. Can I, as this siren person I am now, can I put that on hold for a minute? Can I give it a minute? Can I live with this moment as unfinished, unclosured, unsatisfying, and know that it's not the whole of my life or the whole of my relationship? Can I fill that empty space with just the love I generally feel for him, and not excuse him, not excuse anything, just go, not let it go, just go, right at this moment, this is what I've got. This is what I feel. And the next moment I feel different. And oh yeah, I want to go to the market. Oh yeah, I just got an idea to do this. Oh, I want to do some new, different kind of nail polish. And all of a sudden you are in a new place, rather than stuck into digging the hole where he is out of that moment. All of a sudden you have to dig anything. You just get to flip, to move on to what feels better. And then next time you see him, you get a chance to make that connection using all of the tools, which is look at him, smile at him, open up to him. He will step forward if you lean back. And to fix that connection, touch, sex, laughing, and then you reconnect. And then you'll find all of a sudden it doesn't bother you as much next time when that happens. So the bother, the disappointment is a matter of the intensity of the disconnection that you feel from him and from your feelings of love for him. So that's the great jungle, right? That's the great forest. You get to look at all the trees, and you know what? It takes some time. Give yourself some time from moment to moment.
That's awesome. That was just brilliant and wonderful. Thank you so much, Rory. And thank you, Naomi, for being here.
Thank you both for being here.